Good morning. This is Dr. Thomas Lucky. I'm here to talk about this subject that's in the media, newspaper, television, and the like. It's about cell phone and cell phone usage. It was published just recently, October the 20th, 2011, and this is from ABC News reporter Katie Moise, or M-O-I-S-S-E, excuse me for the name problem. But let's talk a little bit about how this is misrepresented to keep people confused. Really, the study is really to get people that have been awakened to put them back to sleep and say it's okay. There was just recently a study released by the World Health Organization Internal Agency for Research on Cancer that deemed cell phones a possible cause of cancer. And this is sort of a save your rear end type study that is funded by this Danish Cancer Society Institute of Cancer Research, which is really a arm of another group that is important over there and has a little bit of conflict problem. It's a for-profit organization that the International Epidemiology Institute, and they fund such companies as small companies like Motorola, which can be involved with the cell phone industry, as you would say. But not a big problem. Let's just publish it like it's a real study. It's sort of a continuation of a study, and it has lots of issues with it. One is you can just go to the British Medical Journal. You can pull it up yourself and actually look at the study. And that's the great thing about internet today, is you don't have to be left out in the cold. Let's look at this. A study of 358,403 Danish cell phone plan subscribers over 17 years. Now, the first thing you want to take a look at is the excluding category. Who did they exclude? Corporate subscriptions. It says N, which stands for number, 200,507. Now, these are the most heavy cell phone users on the face of the earth. So why would they actually exclude this group? I see all these business people that come in the office, they always have a cell phone attached to their head or earbud or something worse, and they're talking 90 miles per hour. Now, the deal is, why would you get rid of this group? This is where you would see possible issues presenting themselves. Well, they had an agenda associated with this. Just get rid of who you want to get rid of so you can skew the study. And the other thing is, this is a 17-year study. Now, 17 years ago, it wasn't half the cell phone usage actually going on in the world. And the other thing actually was going on at that time is that people didn't use the cell phone as much. More expensive to have a cell phone. So you have to take in considerations such as that as well when looking at overall cell phone usage. I actually like the study because it's almost comical. It actually says the cell phone is protective for all cancers, actually, if you want to look at it. Now, this is really strange when you have all cancers. So we need to really get into the cell phone industry because it may be the cure for malignancy, for goodness sakes, and we don't want to miss out with that. It's just another group of double talk. This computer is so slow. Sorry about that. It might be even frozen. But the issue is that they said in all cancers and males as well as females, there was decreased risk of cancer above, overall. Then they started looking at gliomas, and they did not show that there was a reduction in risk. They actually showed there was an increased risk but they said it was a slight but non-significant increase incident rate for gliomas in men 1.08, 0.96, 1.22. The incident rate ratio was highest in the short-term users, 1 to 4 in this group. So all this is really is a bunch of baloney. Number one, there's conflict of interest, even though it says there's no conflict of interest associated with it. You just have to follow the money trail with this. The other thing is it's a study that actually tries to put people in a state of complacency and still does not say that there is no risk associated with it. And I really don't even know exactly what they were actually studying. What electromagnetic frequency, that's what it goes along with, because you've got non-ionizing radiation and you got ionized radiation. You have the thermal effects that a lot of times the specific absorption rate, which that cell phones are actually given a rating to determine how much thermal effect is being absorbed by the body. And in my book we talk a little bit about cell phone usage and how damaging it is to the body. But one of the things is that they measure this rating, which is the heating effect or the local effect of having a cell phone near your head. Now, the human body runs between 0 to 31 hertz or cycles per second, and this is where the cellular milieu is actually operating at. And it's sort of funny about the name cell phone or cellular phone would imply that it actually is a phone for the cells. So what takes place is these waves are not transmitted that far, and they have to be picked up on a very powerful 1.8, 1.9 gigahertz frequency, and the information at these very low frequencies is what really affects the cell, these carrier waves that cause destruction that a lot of people do not take notice of. And just for instance, also the gigahertz waves, about 2.4 gigahertz will boil water, and that's not particularly good when you have a simmering situation, because what is the brain made of? It's made of water and fat, and this study may actually be a little bit flawed even because of that. As far as brain activity, you've got the United States of America, where we have one of the highest rate of omega-6 to omega-3 fat content, and the brain likes the DHA, and which a lot of times will come from fish, and these are big fish people. They eat lots of fish, and cold water fish that will supply omega-3, which would be protective against issues as well. You put the same study in the United States, no telling what would show up over a long period of time, because you're looking at a situation that is potentially disastrous, and I wouldn't be close to a cell phone in my ear any more than a couple of seconds. I try to get off of them immediately, or I'm talking about I try not to even wear them, even though I believe I have material that actually I can use that helps protect the cellular biofields. And another thing that's not mentioned here is the effect on DNA is a crystalline matrix. It's sort of like an antenna itself. And there's fractals that Dr. Banks actually studied quite in detail, and that indicates that there's also effects of heat shock proteins, which allows for damaging to take place, or an indication of damage being occurred in people that are radiating themselves with the EMFs. Now, when you're dealing with these low-level frequencies, that affects the cell membrane and causes them essentially to become leaky, and especially the brain that will actually allow for damaging free radicals to actually attack the brain and increase the incidence for DNA mutation, which actually is a trigger. So number one, this study did not last long enough. Number two, this study is actually a very flawed study because it does not take in the incidence of all these people using cell phones that are corporate executives that have high usage of cell phones, and which is where you get into really serious problems. It doesn't look at thermographic effects of a cell phone in which you can measure the heat actually transmitting through the brain, and especially in children with thin skulls. So there's heat damage, and there's also associated with this the cellular damage that is occurring from the non-ionizing effect of the frequencies damaging the cellular membranes and proteins in the body that cause problems as well. There's too many studies to say it does, to just lay down and say it doesn't. And it just depends on who is actually making the study and what kind of agenda that they have. And since the media is owned by the moguls of the world, I really don't take this kind of stuff serious. And also looking at this article and how it is so absolutely biased, and it says at the end, I want to end this by saying in June, ABC News reached out to 92 physicians about their own cell phone use. Like this is important here. 65 said they would hold their cell phones up to their ear. Well, that may be Darwin's theory of getting the survival of the fittest, actually, and I really don't know. But 27 said they use hand-free devices to minimize their cancer risk. A lot of them use earbuds, which are actually worse than having a cell phone to your ear. And it's actually in the external meatus, actually, that is irradiating directly into the skull and through the body, into the brain, and causing all kind of damage itself. Now, some of them, I'm sure, are using hands-free devices that they're away some distance from the cell phone. I'm not totally against cell phones. They're a need in this time that we live in, but you need to be safe. And there's people that talk 60 to 90 minutes a day. And another thing is they have such things called track phones and different type of contracts that you can sign into that this doesn't take, or to-go phones, I guess you would call, that does not take in consideration for those phones as well. So this is a no good study. It's just trying to make up for what's actually just recently come out declaring these cell phones to be possible carcinogens and protect the industry. Like I've said, and I've heard other people probably say this too, that cell phone is the new cigarette of the future. Have a good day, and God bless.